a glancing header, and Diogo Jota, one that Leno should have saved. Socrates pulled one back with 10 minutes to go. Lacazette maybe should have had a penalty, but in truth it was never going to be enough after Wolverhampton Wanderers' excellent first 45 minutes. It's still in our hands to a certain extent, because Chelsea and Manchester United are going to drop points at the weekend, one or both. Do we need to win our last three, Rob, do you think?
I think we have to win our next three, yeah. We win our next three, we get Champions League football, really. It's just as simple as that. It's just, you've just got to see a much better performance, got much more incisive. The difficulty is that our confidence is going to be knocked after 2 defeats.
Well, it's been very disappointing here. Wolves supporters are going to go home happy, as we mentioned. They jumped to 7th, Arsenal stay 5th, and it's all going to be on those final 3 games. More reaction from social media from Perry and all the gang, Johnny and Kenzie back at Emirates, as we hand you to Arsenal Nation Live. Full-time score here, Wolverhampton Wanderers 3, Arsenal 1.
Yeah, frustrating night away from home. I'm still joined in the studio by Perry Groves and Johnny Cochran. Lots to talk about from the game this evening, and we're going to kickstart the full-time show by talking about formation. We were speaking about it at half-time, and you guys have been sending us in your tweets as well. So let's get to those and take a look at what you've been saying at home. It's April 2019, and I still haven't seen Arsenal have a fully convincing performance in a 4-2-3-1. We'll come back to that in a moment, and we have another tweet here. Following on from what he's just said, I much prefer the back three. The structure makes it easier to play out under pressure. The wing-backs can push up with security, and we can get our best players in central areas. Even the diamond seems to work much nicer for us. Let's come to you guys in the studio then. What do you make of those comments, Perry?
Well, it's nothing that we didn't know, to be fair. We said before the game that I like 3 at the back and not the 4. If you see the difference in us in the first half, well, obviously Wolves sat back in the second half. They didn't need to chase the game. They knew unless they lost concentration, they'd already won it. But you saw a team with Wolves playing their 3 at the back. They've played that all season, and then when they're out of possession, they go to a flat back 5. They knew their jobs individually and collectively. In the first half, our players didn't. Our players are not comfortable with playing a flat back 4 because, as I said earlier, we're not good in 1v1 situations. The 3 centre-halves gives you a little bit more security. When teams break on you, at least you've got 3 at the back, so you're not exposing the wide areas. I was surprised that it took Unai, 10 minutes in the second half to actually change it. I thought it'd have changed it in the first half. We did look a lot better in the second half. But let's be honest, the damage was already done in the first half. So Wolves were playing probably with the handbrake on because they didn't want to give us a chance to counter-attack them.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, just on that note on formation, I think, you got some Arsenal fans who I think have started to jump on Unai Emery's back a little bit, unfairly, I think, unjustly. And those people, I think, are unrealistic with how big a job he actually had to undertake in replacing Wenger and the absolute mess that we were in last year. That being said, I think some of the criticism he's facing over these issues with regards to formation is completely just. He's got to learn. He's got to learn quickly. At the end of the day, we're at the end of a year now, and you've got to know that certain players ain't up to it, and certain players need a formation that suits them. We know that we struggle with width because we don't really have anyone who is rampaging as a winger. You know what I mean? Iwobi's quite a good ball carrier, but he doesn't score that many goals. We know he's not a very clinical finisher. Our width comes from our fullbacks. Emery knows that. So we should be playing this formation. We don't want to get too creative all the time. Not unless you have suddenly got these players coming back from injury who unlock a new way of playing. But we don't have that. We have to play to our strengths. And this is not the time to start getting too creative now. And at the end of the day, if he keeps making the wrong calls with these formations and we don't end up where we need to be, he's going to have some serious questions to answer. And that's the reality of the situation. I think he's done a good job, but you've got to start getting these calls right now. Because I tell you what, every Arsenal fan out there could start telling you, oh, that formation worries me and that lineup worries me. So he's got to start working it out.
Well, let's take a look at how tonight's results have affected the Premier League table then. Manchester City lead 2-0 to Manchester United, still sitting outside that top 4. Obviously, a win this evening would have taken us back above Chelsea and into that top 4. But it's not mathematically impossible. The next 3 games are going to be tough, but it is doable, Perry. It's
doable, and it means you've got to win all 3. You have to win all 3. He said, I didn't think there was a safety net beforehand. I know that Johnny said like maybe a draw. That's completely out of the equation now. And this is all really self-inflicted. If you're playing against a team that's ripped you apart, or you're playing against teams that are your level above, then you hold your hands up. But losing at home against Crystal Palace and losing away, and again, losing against Wolves isn't a disgrace in itself because they're a decent side. But the first half, we were so far off it. We didn't make Wolves work hard enough to beat us. We didn't make them play outstandingly well. So there's no room for error now. As Johnny said earlier, we've got a little caveat there. Man United play against Chelsea. So really, you want in a draw would be a perfect result for us there, because then we win the 3 games, then we qualify in 4th place. So this is now time for big characters and leadership from players. Today we didn't see it, but we have seen. The thing that's frustrating is the Napoli game. It was the perfect away performance with the 3 centre halves, everybody nice and solid, playing 10, 15 yards up the pitch. People would take responsibility. That's got to be a given now, from now to the end of the season for the next 3 games. It could go down that we have to go to Burnley last game of the season and beat Burnley.
Oh,
That's
we
what it
will have to do that. There's no question. I mean, one thing you've hit the nail on the head, we have to win every game now. There is absolutely... Every game's cup final. The thing, you know, it's just changing all the time. It is like a Game of Thrones storylines all the time. The fact is that we also have to factor in the Europa League. So if we do well against Valencia, at one point you might start going, well, you know, we need to hedge our bets on the Valencia game. Well,
you can't prioritise now.
I just personally think that overall, like you say, I think we've got 5 games left, unless we get to the final, but then that is something else anyway. I don't want to see the team change. Every single game, same formation, same team, play them every single game. And anything else, I think Emery will attract criticism, and it will be deserved from this point on.
Worst ways out, if he changes in the forward areas, you can get away with it, because, you know, you want a bit of freshness and a bit of... He has to play the same back 5. He has to play Maitland-Niles with Socrates and Koscielny and Monreal and Kolasinac. Wolverhampton Wanderers haven't changed their back 5 also. I think Ryan Bennett's been left out a couple of times. But other than that, probably the whole season, and you could tell by the way they're playing, they're all comfortable. They're on exactly no positions. They play sort of robotically. That's what we have to do from now to the end of the season. So worst ways out, he has to play those 5 every game.
I think by the weekend we're going to know exactly where we are, in all honesty, Kenzie. The reality is we've got to beat Leicester. This is how it goes now. OK, right, let's go to Leicester and win. And the only thing that I would say about them, you know, they're good like Wolves. It's going to be hard to get, but they will just come out here. Wolves like to counter-attack. Leicester like to counter-attack, but they will also come out here and just try to break you down. And you can counter-attack them, because at home, they, especially with Rodgers in, he will just try to, you know, play good football and try to win well. So we will have the chance to break. We have to win. So if it's 1-1 on 90 minutes, right, keep her up, send Leno up. It's that situation, you know.
The thing is, though, if we're all very disappointed, obviously, with the 2 results, but compared this stage season now to last season, there's something riding on every single game. Whereas last season, all it was Europa League, semi-final against Atletico Madrid. Our season's dead. It isn't now. So as an Arsenal fan, as you said, we've got a lot to look forward to. There's a lot of excitement, a lot of nerve-wracking games coming up where you're looking at other results, see what's happening. So our season is very, very much alive. So this is about the players' powers of recovery, not just physically but mentally, and Unai Emery's powers as well, how he motivates his team. And he's just got, when you're struggling, you go right back to basics and you just keep it very, very simple. Don't overcomplicate it.
Yeah, there's huge 3 games upcoming, of course, starting with Leicester at the King Power Stadium on Sunday. But let's bring the chat back to this evening. One man that was brought on and actually made all the difference and has been receiving much praise across our social channels is the youngster Eddie Nketiah. He's actually just made 3 Premier League appearances this season, a combined time of 4 minutes on the pitch before tonight in the Premier League. A tweet here from Dan: Nketiah with the best piece of play we've had all night, and he's only been on for 2 minutes. He did certainly come on and impress, up to the tempo. I believe we've got another tweet about Eddie as well. No, just that one. So lots of people have been addressing how he came on, really changed the game. Great on and off the ball, actually. Really promising from Eddie.
It is, and you know, fair play to the guy. He's come in there and he's shown that he can add something, and that's all you want from the bench, especially with a young player. You want someone to come on, not be embarrassed or shy of the situation, to step in there and try and seize it with both hands. And he looked good. He looked really good. He was the one who was creating the most chances towards the end. However, on the sour note, it's nothing to do with Eddie, but when you're saying that that's your only outlet, bringing on a young kid who's relatively inexperienced and going, go and save our, you know, Champions League
we
campaign.
Have to remember we were without Aubameyang this evening as well, of course, due to the minor sinus.
We were, absolutely, but that's also how you build a squad. And arguably, when you look in January and we've brought one player in who's not playing anymore, then I'm sorry, we have to look at that as well. So there is a recruitment issue with regards to that. And I'm not saying that Eddie Nketiah is not a really promising prospect, but I'd like to see a bit more at this stage, because we know the teams around us they've got a bigger depth of squad, you know, and we are a couple of injuries away from being barren. Our away form is absolutely appalling, and it is going to have to get sorted out very, very quickly.
The thing is, what he brought was a bit of desire and a bit of energy and a bit of enthusiasm. That's all you want. If you think in that appearance that he had, if you said, right, what did Iwobi contribute, what did Mkhitaryan contribute, what did Mesut Ozil contribute in the whole game, they didn't actually show that desire. You expect it from a young player anyway, but he just had that bit of hunger. That's all it was. And he obviously tried to go past run. It's probably the only time I can remember in the game that one of our players tried to go past one of the players 1v1. And all it is just knocking out his feet. He gets booked. Brian Bennett gets booked, get a free kick in the box. So it was just about a bit of heart, a bit of desire. That's all it was. And
fearlessness. I mean, at the end of the day, Arsenal looked very leggy towards the end, and they looked like, oh, here we go again kind of thing. This is one of the things I have as an issue with regards to the people that knock Emery. There is a mentality issue with Arsenal, and anyone who doesn't realise that was not paying attention to the last decade. We have slowly been getting worse and worse, and in crunch situations, we often bottle it outside of a couple of FA Cup runs. This is going to take a lot of time to unlearn, or players to be moved on and replaced with players who are not damaged in the same way. At the end of the day, we are in a situation where this is our best league campaign for a while with regards to feeling genuinely positive about how our squad moves forward. There was one of the commentators read out that if Arsene Wenger was in charge, you know, he'd be getting slammed for this. Well, it's a different situation. Wenger was at the end of 20-plus years at the helm. Emery's had less than a year to get where he is, so he deserves a little less slack, a little more slack, should I say, than Wenger did, obviously. But, of course, if this same thing is happening towards the end of next year, he won't get that slack.
Just caveat that. This isn't Unai Emery's team. It's not his team yet. He hasn't got the players. There's going to be a big personnel change at the end of the season. There'll be 4 or 5 of the first team squad players that I think will be moved on, and then he'll get his own players in. So then we're far further down the line of improvement than I thought we would be. It's happened quicker. So tonight's doom and gloom is not good enough, but over a whole period of the season, we've improved dramatically. I'll judge Unai Emery fully probably halfway through next season. Do you know what I mean? When he's got his own players there. But he is changing the mentality gradually. But some players' mentality can't be changed, so they're the ones that will then be moved on.
Yeah.
Now, we may have lost this evening, but let's focus on the positives now. We did gain a fan here on Arsenal Nation Live. Take a look at this. Once again, taken from the Wolves press box. There he is. Have a look. He's watching us on Arsenal Nation Live in the studio. How about that, Perry and Johnny? Absolutely brilliant. Glad we're keeping you entertained over there at Molineux. Now, before we let you guys go, we've got to come to you for your one-word summary of today's game. Perry, we'll start with you.
I would say it was disappointing.
He's had my word.
You've got more in your vocabulary.
Yeah, think.
Come on.
Well, I was going to go a bit above dreadful with disappointing, but we might have to go with dreadful now, because the reality is we're in the last chance saloon. So.
One word. That was more of a sentence. Nearly a full season on Arsenal Nation Live. He's still struggling with that one word. We can always count on Johnny to be a good talker. Guys, thank you so much. Great to have both Perry and Johnny on the show, as always. Of course, as we've mentioned lots and lots of times, 3 big games coming up, starting with that massive away trip to the King Power Stadium on Sunday. That is an early kickoff, 12 o'clock. Do make sure you join us half an hour before then. We'll bring you all the build-up to that massive game. Thanks for joining us this evening. We'll see you Sunday.